What is up, Fermenters? Adam here, and you are listening to episode 2 of Things That I've Learned After 20 Years of Ministry. Hope that you listened last week, and I hope you liked it, because if you did, there's a chance you might like this week. If you're showing up late to the party, maybe you should go back and listen to last week. You'll get a little bit of a better idea about what we're doing. But here's essentially the project that we're working on. A few months ago, my spiritual director had me write some things, and they had me write some things to my younger self, things that I'd learned after 20 years of ministry. Just jot some things down. And so I did, and we processed that. And in the process of just having those conversations, I realized that this stuff might be really encouraging to other people who are in the trenches of ministry. This isn't to say that I'm a guru, and this isn't to say I'm an expert. I'm just a guy who's been on this road for a little while, and it might be helpful to you. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do 2 more things that I've learned after 20 years of ministry. And the first thing I want to talk about is spiritual transformation. Spiritual transformation is kind of a big deal on this podcast. In fact, it's the reason that we named it the Ferment. It's the idea that things change, people change. Grapes go from grapes in the field to wine in the bottle. That's what fermentation is all about. And people do the same thing. You know, we start out as one thing, and we live our lives, and all the things that happen to us and all the ways in which we live with each other and with God, it has a way of shaping and forming us. And hopefully we have some experiences with Jesus and with God that change us. And hopefully when things are maybe less catalytic, when things are not moving in what we've been calling the fast work of God, when we're moving in that slower lane, hopefully the gradual process of trusting Jesus is changing us. And so I want to talk just for a moment about spiritual transformation. And I want to start by just reading something that I wrote to my younger self. Here's what I wrote. Some forms of spiritual transformation simply reveal how much criticism and arrogance are still left in our hearts, no matter how profound the transformation was. It's not uncommon for a person to really experience something with gravity and then become critical of those who don't see it the same way. It's the transformation behind the transformation that's the real one. The transformation behind the transformation. That's the one we're going after. You know, spiritual transformation, it eventually has to go deep. It eventually has to touch the center of who we are. It can't just be an enlightenment that's a cause to be angry or dismissive of people in a brand new way. And I'm actually saying that with a smile because, man, I've done that. You know, you update your ideas. You used to think one thing, and now you think something else. Maybe you let go of some Sunday school faith, Sunday school faith that really served you well through childhood. And maybe you let go of your youth group faith that served you well when you were 17 or whatever, But you end up being 35 or 40 and you realize, oh man, I've just changed. Life is different. Life is more complicated. It's more nuanced. And so my ideas of walking with Jesus and how I walk with Jesus and what it means to love and trust, these ideas, they've become, more mature, more grown up. What I'm getting at here is sometimes we update our ideas, but it hasn't yet touched our heart. It's like it's stuck in our brain somewhere. We can feel it pulling us forward, but until it goes all the way down, sometimes the update in ideas just becomes a new way or a new reason to be dismissive of people who don't see it the same way that we do. I was having a conversation with some friends not long ago, and one of my buddies said, yeah, one of the interesting things about spiritual transformation is sometimes we grow or expand, and I'm using those words in air quotes here, but we grow or expand, and then what we do is, we become angry and beat up on people who don't see it the same way we do, even though those very same people, they're just holding the ideas that we did 3 years ago. And so there's a sense in which it's almost like misplaced anger. It's not just at these people, but it's like, man, can we not see that they're just stand-ins for the younger versions of ourselves it should lead to some compassion and some understanding. But I guess what I'm doing here is I'm just pointing out the tendency to trade tribes, our human tendency to want to be in some kind of a group and to define the boundaries in ways that, oftentimes separate us. Anyway, spiritual transformation, it can't just get stuck there. It has to move past the realm of ideas and into a new way of being. One of the things I've realized after 20 years is sometimes it's not just about updating our ideas, but it's how we hold our ideas. Learning how to be who I am and learning how to be the person that God has made me to be and learning how to really embrace the journey that I'm on in the community that I'm in with God, but then at the same time, hold generous space for others. That's a sign of real spiritual transformation. When I can be who I am, but at the same time, I can let others be who they are, even if we see it different, And I'm thinking about all kinds of things here, from, garden variety things to really big things, learning how to be who I really am and not feeling like I have to waffle, but at the same time, holding generous space for others to be who they are and just trusting that God is working in their life as well. I hope what you're hearing at this point is, it doesn't mean that we're wishy-washy. It means we can really believe what we believe. It means we really can change. But it also dives into this idea that Paul shares. Paul says, knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. That's the real spiritual transformation. It's not just updating our ideas and getting a big chest about how enlightened we are. That's just puffing up. But really, it's about being who I really am, believing what I really believe as best I can see it, still listening to others, but like being authentic to myself. And at the same time, holding generous space for others so that love can build up. That's the real goal. It's the transformation behind the transformation. All right, let's shift gears here. Number 2, second thing that I've learned after 20 years of ministry. It's that Jesus is the one who changes people. Here's what I wrote to my younger self. Jesus is the one who ultimately changes people. How many marriages have I tried to save? How many addicted folks have I tried to rescue? How many people have I tried to get to be something different? The answer is a lot. And the answer is that I have a track record of batting 0.000. This isn't to say that people haven't changed, but it's always been Jesus. And after 20 years, I'm getting better at letting Jesus lead, and I'll play the small part that he gives to me. Jesus is the one who changes people. It took me a while to learn this, but one of the things I've come to is I don't know how to change people. I don't know how to change anyone. I can barely change myself, I need the Spirit even in those really, really tender and intimate places within my own life. And one of the things that I've had to come to after 20 years of ministry is that I've been guilty of wanting stuff for people maybe more than they do. I think if you're a pastor, that's pretty common because we can see, inside of what's happening in people's lives because we live with them. And then we just have track records of seeing lots and lots of people and lots of trajectories. And you kind of know where things are going, or maybe people come to you and, they say they want to change and you want to see them change and you want to believe with them and for them. And one of the things that I've been very guilty of is just, wanting stuff more than the person who's coming to me maybe does. I've also been guilty of thinking that information is the same thing as transformation. The idea that, man, if they just know the right thing, then everything in their life will be better. If they just know the right stuff, then their marriage will be fixed and I can give them the right information. Or, if they just know the right nugget, then, they won't be an addict anymore. If they just know the right stuff. And I really love thinking about information because I like knowing stuff. And, if I can be the person who's disseminating information, well, man, that puffs up my own ego. But after 20 years, one of the things I've learned is that Information is not the same thing as transformation. Information is good. It can be a path to transformation. It can confirm some transformation, but my knowledge is not what's going to change people. I've also been guilty of thinking that I had the goods, just thinking, oh, I've got my life together. And, if you just listen to me, just look at me and you'll get fixed. And the truth is, man, I just don't have the goods in that way. Now, here's the other side of this. The other side that I've learned is this. I can help. I can help. I can be a friend. I can listen and I can support. But one of the things that I've realized is, in the end, it's got to be Jesus. In the end, it's got to be him. It's got to be his work. He's the healer. I love those stories in the Gospels where Jesus would be out and he'd be doing his healing work. And several occasions, the gospel writers say something like this, Jesus is out doing his thing and they brought everybody in the village who was sick or possessed by a demon, and Jesus healed every single one. What a picture of ministry. What a picture of ministry. Everybody coming to Jesus. And maybe my role is to simply bring people to Jesus. I can't help but think of Mark chapter 2, those friends who brought their lame friend to get healed by Jesus. And when they got there, the crowd's too big. So they climb on top of the house and they tear the roof off the house and they lower the man down. That's a great image for pastors. Jesus is the one who heals. And the thing that we can do is we can just keep pointing people to Jesus. We can keep bringing people to Jesus. And occasionally, if we need to, let's tear the roof off the house, and let's lower people down in front of Jesus. We got to take maybe that kind of posture to dig through the roof. There's another moment in the Gospels that sort of speak to this as well. It's John chapter 1. Jesus is just showing up and beginning to do his thing, and the disciples, they meet Jesus and they run and tell some other people, and they're like, hey, we've met the guy. Like, we've met the actual guy. This is the guy. They keep saying, come and see. There's this phrase that's in John chapter 1 more than a few times, come and see. And I love that because that's a great mantra for ministry as well. I don't have it. I don't have a magical power. I don't have healing on demand. But I know a guy. I can take you to him. I can introduce you. Come and see. I can lead you to him. I know where he's at. I've met him. I know a few things about the guy, and he's got something not just for me, but for you as well. It's Jesus who does the work of changing people, especially if it's going to be lasting change. And it makes me think about our church too. It makes me think of our church as spaces where we're hosting Jesus, spaces where we're making a place for Jesus to come and to be. I'm thinking of the Gospels again. It's John chapter 12. Jesus has raised Lazarus from the dead in John chapter 11, and in John chapter 12, Mary and Martha give a dinner in Jesus' honor, and there's like all these people there, There's this picture inside of John chapter 12 of simple hospitality. You make a space for Jesus. You take your space, and it's not just a space for you, but it's a space for him. And I'm just wondering if that's not a decent image for us who are in ministry as well, that our churches could be in some ways like little homes for Jesus. It could be like Mary, Martha, and Lazarus' house. Our churches could be Bethany, where Jesus would go. This place where people could show up and that they could encounter Jesus. Anyway, those are a couple things I've learned. Spiritual transformation, man, it has to go deep. Spiritual transformation, the real one, it's the transformation behind the transformation. It lets me hold space for others. And the second thing I learned is, it's Jesus who changes people. And our roles as leaders and pastors is just to keep bringing people to Jesus. I hope this encourages you. I hope this is something you can sit with this week. And I hope this becomes maybe something you can work out with Jesus even in the next few days. All right, everybody. I'll see you next week. Peace.
Hey everyone, Casey Corum here, producer of the podcast. Thanks for listening. As always, if you've been enjoying the podcast, here's a few ways you can help us. First of all, leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice. This helps more people find us. Also, connect with us on social media. Instagram at the Ferment Podcast and Twitter at FermentCast. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. See you next week. Peace.